When you check your bank account, everything might look perfectly fine. The numbers are still there. Maybe you've even managed to put a little money aside. But then you walk out of the grocery store, pay a bill, or buy something you used to think of as a basic necessity, and suddenly you feel it. That uncomfortable thought, I used to get a lot more for this money. And the worst part, you're not the only one feeling this way. In fact, most of us are slowly being pulled into one of the biggest financial traps of 2026, and many people don't even realize it's happening. I'm talking about the silent debt spiral. Now, I'm not going to sit here and throw complicated economic terms at you, no endless charts, no confusing tables, no lecture about economics. Instead, think of this as a conversation between two friends, because today we're going to talk about something that quietly takes money out of your pocket without you really noticing. And more importantly, we're going to break down step by step how to avoid getting trapped in this cycle and what you can do if you're already caught in it. So, grab your coffee, get comfortable, and stay with me. Let's get started. Why is it that even when our income goes up, we still somehow struggle to make it to the end of the month? The answer is actually pretty simple. The system is built around one thing: getting you to spend without thinking too much about it. Installment plans, buy now, pay later offers, those plastic cards in your wallet that somehow never feel like real money when you use them. You know the old saying, everything is fine in moderation. The problem is, those small monthly payments start piling up. One payment here, another one there, and before you know it, they've turned into a monthly monster that eats up more of your income than you ever intended to spend. A lot of people think this way. There's inflation anyway. If I borrow money today, that debt will be worth less tomorrow. Inflation will basically take care of it. And that sounds logical. But this is where one of the biggest traps begins. Yes, in the past, inflation could make old debt feel smaller over time. But when interest rates are high, things don't work that way. If the interest you're paying is growing faster than your income, inflation isn't making your debt disappear. It's doing the opposite. That debt starts eating away at your money, your savings, and eventually your future. Section 2. Dangerous habits and the minimum payment trap. There's a very human mistake that almost all of us can make. Your credit card statement arrives. You look at the total balance, and honestly, it's a little scary. Then your eyes move down to one number, minimum payment due. And you think, okay, I'll just pay the minimum this month. I'll deal with the rest later. But do you know what's happening in the background? When you keep paying only the minimum, the rest of that balance doesn't just sit there waiting for you. Interest keeps building on what you still owe, and that balance can become harder and harder to get rid of. Paying the minimum might feel like you're keeping your head above water, but in reality, you could be using up more of your energy just trying not to sink. And then the cost of everyday life goes up. So what do? We use the credit card again as soon as the limit becomes available. We pay off old debt with new debt, and suddenly we're caught in a cycle where every month starts with a little less money and a little more debt. And unless you break that cycle, financial freedom becomes harder and harder to reach, not just in 2026, but in the years that follow.
First, let's get the diagnosis right. Why does it seem like almost everyone is in debt somehow?
Okay, so the picture looks pretty bleak, but what are we supposed to do? Give up? Throw in the towel? Absolutely not. There are clear, practical ways to get out of this situation. #1. Face the numbers. Build your debt map. The first step is also the hardest one. Face the reality. Grab a piece of paper and a pen. How much do you owe? Which banks do you owe it to? What are the interest rates? When are the payment deadlines? Write everything down, every single debt. It might be uncomfortable, maybe even a little scary, but you can't win a battle when you don't know what you're fighting. Once everything is on that piece of paper, the situation becomes clear. You can finally see exactly what you're up against. #2. Choose your strategy, Avalanche or Snowball. When it comes to paying off debt, there are two basic strategies that can make a huge difference. The first is the debt avalanche method. You focus on the debt with the highest interest rate first. From a purely mathematical perspective, this usually makes the most sense. You go after the debt that is costing you the most money and eliminate it as quickly as possible. Then there's the debt snowball method. Instead of starting with the highest interest rate, you start with your smallest balance. Because the amount is small, you can pay it off relatively quickly, and that gives you something incredibly important: a win. You get to tell yourself, I did it. One debt is gone. If motivation is what you need, that small victory can give you the momentum to keep going. So choose whichever method works better for you. But once you choose your target, focus on one debt at a time. Keep making the minimum payments on the others, but put every extra dollar you can toward the debt you've chosen to eliminate. #3. Cut the spending and hit pause. While you're trying to get out of debt, you can't keep creating new debt. Think about it this way. If you're trying to drain water from a sinking boat, but you haven't plugged the hole, you're just wasting your energy. For the next 2 or 3 months, put everything you can live without on pause. Subscriptions you barely use, expensive meals and takeout, impulse purchases, shopping just because something looks good. Cut it all back. And no, this doesn't mean you have to live like this forever. This is temporary. Think of it as financial emergency mode. You're not giving up your lifestyle forever. You're simply making a short-term sacrifice to get something much more valuable back: your financial freedom.
And guys, being in debt is not something to be ashamed of. It doesn't mean you're a failure. The system we live in is constantly pushing us to consume more, spend more, and borrow more. What matters is recognizing the game and learning how to change the rules for yourself. Because what we talked about today isn't just about numbers. It's about your peace of mind. It's about being able to sleep at night without constantly worrying about money. And most importantly, it's about your future. If you've decided to take even one of these steps, or if you're already fighting your way out of debt, just remember, you're not alone. Tell me in the comments what type of debt is putting the most pressure on you right now, or share your experience with the process. Let's talk about it. In the next video, we're going to look at what comes after getting out of debt. How do you protect your money from inflation? And, more importantly, which investments actually make sense? If you don't want to miss that video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Until then, take good care of yourself and take good care of your money. I'll see you in the next one.